We're here with the three candidates in the 9th Judicial Circuit for Circuit Judge in Group 18. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
We have a couple of questions that we ask every candidate who comes in for an interview. Experience has taught us these are good questions to ask, and we get them out of the way at the beginning of the interview, and then we can move on to some other questions. First question, and we'll start with Mr. Bacchus, is have you ever been arrested?
No.
No, sir.
No.
Okay. Now we'll start with you, Mr. Hetz, and go the other way. Have you ever declared bankruptcy?
No.
No, sir.
No.
Okay, great. All right, well, why don't you tell us, to start, why you're running for judge. We'll start with you, Ms. Barbour.
Well, I started practicing here in Orange County area, Orange and Osceola counties, in 1988. And I started practicing with Joe DeRocha with the Office of the Public Defender and became an assistant public defender practicing criminal trial law. From there, I went to practice insurance defense with a small law firm locally. And after that, a friend approached me that I went to law school with, and we decided to open our own practice. And we started doing primarily criminal trial defense. In 1997, I became board certified in criminal trial defense. And Sheila, my partner, moved up north in 2000, and I've been a solo practitioner ever since, practicing in criminal trial defense as well as marital and family law. And over the years, I've had occasion to see a lot of judges on the bench. I've seen judges that have done things, in my estimation, the right way, and some judges that have done things, in my estimation, and maybe not so much the right way. And I've had occasion to represent a lot of people, especially in the area of marital and family law, who have had tough cases that need good consideration by the judges. And it's always been my goal, after having practiced now for 26 years, it's always been my goal after a period of time to sit on the bench. I can think of nothing better to serve my community as in that fashion, serving on the bench. So I've chosen to run because Judge McDonald declared that he was, or Judge McDonald actually is aging out, and his seat was being vacated. So I declared about a year ago in that seat.
Mr. Bacchus.
Well, I've been practicing 5 years in Orlando, 5 years as an attorney. But I started working at the age of 16 in Barbados. And between there and here, 31 years, basically. I'm 46 now. Went to school, law school at 38, graduated at 40. At that age, I'm not wondering what it is I want. My path is clear. I know where I want to go. And so being a judge, for me, is where I want to be. Why? Well, for me, it is the place where you can help individuals. My background includes doing auto mechanics, construction work, mortuary transport, everything that will give me a clear understanding of the cases that come before me. One of the things that I've seen in my 5 years, I've been a prosecutor, one of the things I've seen is that as I travel from county to county and I see different judges, you know, there are things that work, but I think that more importantly, you as a judge, you have to treat everyone equally and fairly. Justice knows no color, but it must be administered fairly and equally. And so it is my goal to certainly fulfill that role as a judge.
Okay. And Mr. Hetz.
Well, I grew up here in Orlando from about 6th grade on. Went to elementary, junior high, and high school here. Went off to college at the University of Florida. After I graduated Florida, it was during a recession, I believe, in the early 90s, and I had options as far as what I wanted to do at that point. Law seemed to be a good stepping stone to a career that might have some longevity, and that was my determination at the time. So I applied to law school, went to law school down in Miami, finished there, I then traveled to Chicago and did a Master's of Law in Intellectual Property. After that, I traveled to Los Angeles and finished an MBA out there. Once I had done all that, I found that it was my time to come back to Orlando and put to use what I've learned over those years. I immediately went to work for the State Attorney's Office under Lawson Lamar as a prosecutor both in felony and misdemeanor divisions. During that time period there, I was promoted to the appellate division, and in my time there, I handled approximately 65 or so appellate matters before the Circuit Court, 5th DCA, and Florida Supreme Court. At that point, I left to open my own practice in 2003. Have been in that practice up until this point. And over these years, I've had the opportunity to represent clients, both individuals and businesses, over a broad range of legal areas, from breach of contract cases to foreclosure-related cases, real estate litigation, auto accidents, personal injury, and in all these cases, I was the sole and lead counsel. And in addition to that, I did participate in criminal defense, both in Orange County, Osceola County, and other surrounding Central Florida counties. So the Circuit Court seems to be a good place to apply all of the different experiences that I've had in these practice areas. Now, what I would mention is that in 2007, I'd been approached by a law school to become a professor there. So I had a year where I guess basically took a sabbatical from my practice and taught full-time as associate professor of law up in Kentucky. There, I got another, aspect of what it is to both practice law and to understand law from the academic and scholarship side, as well as the teaching side. And after all these experiences that I've had, I've reached a point where, one, I'd like to return to public service. My time at the State Attorney's Office was very important to me and had some satisfaction in it that a private practice could not provide. So that is one of my main reasons for doing that. And the other is, with this broad base of experience in cases that are typically handled in the Circuit Court, I think I have a good foundation to start with and build upon if elected.
Quick follow-up for all three of you, and we'll go in the same order. Mr. Bacchus, how many jury trials have you handled as a lawyer?
I knew that question would come up. It's difficult to remember. As a prosecutor, I handle a lot of cases. A lot of cases don't usually go to trial. Since I've left the State Attorney's Office in 2011, I had cases at the State Attorney's Office, but I don't remember. But I know I've had at least 3 felony trials and at least 2 or 3 family law matters. I've represented a person over in juvenile court, but that was not a trial. But we did go to hearing, filed motions and what's not. But I can't say safely 6 in private practice since leaving the State Attorney's Office.
Okay. Ms. Barbour?
In terms of jury trials, I've had well over 100 jury trials tried to verdict, from the misdemeanor level on up to the felony level. I've tried cases from first-degree murders all the way down to DUIs and everything in between. So I've had a lot of experience trying cases to verdict before juries. And I became board certified, as I stated earlier, in 1997. And in order to become board certified, you must have tried a certain number of cases to verdict, have been recognized by the local judges and your peers as having a certain level of expertise in that area, and have taken a rigorous written examination given by the Florida Bar, a day-long examination. So In terms of jury trials, I've tried well over 100, and then of course I practice marital and family law. My practice has shifted to marital and family law primarily in the last 15 years, and I've tried well over 100 cases as well, and those are bench trials and not jury trials.
Okay, Mr. Hetz.
For jury trials, the number I have been put out there, I guess, included non-jury as well, but and that is well over 20. The jury trial, I would say, is around 15 or so. A lot of that was gathered through the state attorney's office when I was a prosecutor there. In private practice, the jury trials are probably, I would say, jury trial to verdict, probably around 5 to 6 during that time period.
During your intros, Mr. Bacchus and Ms. Barbour talked about how you had witnessed good things and bad things in the courtroom. Let's start with Mr. Bacchus. Can you talk about what you saw that was bad as far as how judges performed?
Well, I can give you an example. I've seen judges bully individuals into accepting what the state is offering. And it's my terminology, call it bullying, because I believe that if an individual makes a decision, and that's their decision, that's their right to go to trial or to accept the state's offer, it should rest with that individual and their counsel whether or not to employ some kind of strategy going forward. And the bench should really just completely stay out of it until the matter is laid before them. For whatever reason, I believe that when individuals are charged before the court, they must feel as though they're getting a fair opportunity at justice. Over in Citrus County, I had a case over there where the individual was charged with fleeing and eluding, aggravated battery, and was not on a law enforcement officer. The judge that handled the case, we recognized there was a mental issue in that case. The judge that handled the case also gave us the opportunity to explore the mental issue. And sure enough, when you have a judge that will allow you to explore issues, all right, that will affect your client's ability to participate in a trial, I think that that is the right way to go. Justice must be done. But if you rush justice, you will sometimes end up with injustice. And so I like judges that will take their time and listen to the attorneys and give them an opportunity to present the case.
Ms. Barbour?
You know, I was talking more in terms of the effective administration of justice. I think by and large what I've seen over the past 26 years is judges who took their job seriously and did their level best to do a good job on the bench. In terms of administration of justice, there are what I mean by what I've seen that works and what doesn't work. There's certain ways to handle docket control with still giving people their day in court and due process of law. And I've seen judges who handle their dockets extremely efficiently in what they do, and I've seen judges who haven't mastered that. I've been a small business owner for the past 20 years. I've had to learn as a successful business owner how to manage cases efficiently and effectively and move them through my office, open them and close them. If I don't, I'm going to lose a client. I'm going to get a bad reputation in the community. I've also learned to effectively manage my staff. I have 3 staff. And I've learned to effectively manage people. Marital and family law, as their saying often goes, is a bunch of good people going through bad times in their life. So it's a lot of emotion involved, and you have to know how to effectively manage your clients as well. So that's really what I was speaking of.
Thank you. Mr. Hetz, have you seen any of these types of situations where judges could do things better?
Absolutely. In my experience in both the civil litigation and the criminal litigation I've dealt with in Orange, Osceola, and Seminole County for the majority of it. You know, judges, one, are managers, and the way that they manage their docket in their courtroom has a big impact on how fast, one, litigants get to move through the court system, the attorneys that represent the litigants get to move. And, you know, over the years, I've always noted judges who have a good hand at managing courtrooms and their caseloads versus others that don't, because you can see the direct effect as an attorney practicing before that judge. The other thing I would say is that the demeanor of some judges can also play into the effective management of their courtroom. You know, I personally am even-keeled, and when I deal with opposing counsels and judges that I appear before. But, you know, there are situations where judges who somehow interject either bias or some sort of animosity to individuals in the courtroom, whether they're other attorneys or members of the public. You know, I think that lessens the effectiveness of the courtroom itself, and then overall the effectiveness of justice in the court system.
So temperament is pretty important.
Yeah, I mean, what I've observed over the last 7 years is that any judges that have been judges and are now not judges, most of that had to do with temperament, as far as I could tell.
And I would agree with that. Temperament is extremely important.
What's the ideal temperament? Or what sort of temperament would you bring? And that's a question for all three of you. I guess you've answered a little bit, but.
I believe that you need to be very even-keeled, slow to anger, very slow to speak, because being a judge calls for listening, analyzing, being able to look at the entire picture, and not. Sometimes you got to go outside of the box in order to get a full picture of what's happening before you. And if you are quick to speak and something rubs you the wrong way, you will probably make a decision that is not going to be fair and just. So you need to be very, very slow to speak and very slow in your deliberation. You've got to take everything into consideration, take the whole picture, and come up with something that is fair and justice.
You know, practicing in marital and family law, that encompasses such areas as divorce, paternity actions, what used to be child custody. You have to develop the ability to listen to people and pull out what's relevant, pull out what's salient without cutting them off and letting them know that you're listening to them and they have said their piece. And that's what a good judge has to do too. A good judge has to listen to people, pull out what's relevant, what's salient, what they need to apply the law to the facts, and give them their day in court. So temperament's very important. You can't cut people off. You can't be rude to them. I mean, you're a public servant, and you've always got to remember that.
I think you've addressed this, unless you wanted to add something to what you had said.
Well, I guess I could give an example. I mean, Judge Alan Lawson was a judge when he was here that really epitomized what I had described. And there's several other judges that I could name, but you know, anyone that does know Judge Lawson would, and practice before him, would know that, you know, that's kind of the temperament I think that is perfect for the bench.
There are three of you competing for this seat, so this is a choice for voters. I'd like to, starting with Ms. Barbour here, why they should pick you over your two opponents.
Well, I think first and foremost what distinguishes me from my opponents is I have been practicing law longer than both of their years' experience combined. I think experience is important when you take the bench. Other than that, I am the only candidate in my race who is board certified in any area of the law, and I am board certified in criminal trial law, and I've maintained that board certification, like I said, since 1997. In addition to that, I'm the only candidate that has been rated by my peers for excellence in legal ability and ethical standards. It's the Martindale-Hubbell, which is a long-standing legal publication, and I carry the highest rating possible, an AV rating, and I'm very proud of that. I have been endorsed also by well over 200 members of the legal community and people that have been past presidents of boards and organizations within our legal community. I've been endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police, the Police Benevolent Association, and the West Orange Political Alliance. So all of those folks have looked at me, they know me. Many of the attorneys that have endorsed me have litigated with me for years and against me for years, and I'm proud to have their endorsements. So I think those things distinguish me, and I'm also committed to my community. I have been a Rotarian for a number of years. Public service is an important part of my life. I also, other than Rotary, have devoted my time to organizations over the years, such as Adriana's Attic. Adriana's Attic is a wonderful organization that does help for the homeless, puts together food, hygiene packets. We've put together many of those. Salvation Army. I've taught kids through junior achievement, various things. I've been a guardian ad litem. I have volunteered my time doing that. In one instance, I took a really special interest in a youth that he had no father, or he didn't know his father. His mother had suffered a brain injury at an early age, and she had the mental capacity of a young child, so to speak, and he was getting into trouble. And we took him into our home. He lived with us. We taught him how to get a job, took him around, driving around, this is what you do. Bought him his first car, taught him to drive. He did donuts in the parking lot, and the police called me. And I had to counsel him on that. And got him through the process of getting his GED. And he's now married. He's a productive member of society, and I'm proud of that. And it's just a little give back. It does take a village. And we've tried to do the right thing, and we have 2 boys, my husband and I. Mike, I've been married to him for 20 years. He's a wonderful man. I call him salt of the earth because he is. He's just a great guy. And I've got one son, Jacob, who is in the honors program at FSU, and another son still in high school, Grant. He's 17.
Mr. Bacchus.
Well, when I consider why people should choose me over the other candidates, I certainly can't boast of years of legal experience, but I will tell you this: in my going around and talking to people, people want someone that understands their plight. They want somebody that can identify and will give them the opportunity to explain themselves. And I think I'm the candidate that brings that. Now, I can tell you about all my involvement in different activities. I go to the Coalition of Homeless with my church. Since graduating law school, I started at my church a legal clinic where folk can come from the community in Winter Park and actually get free legal advice. And then what we will do is refer them to either the Orange County Bar or the Florida Bar or some other organization that will then be able to take it to the next step. And that has been going on for 2 years now. I just continue to give back to the community. I'm involved in my church. I've been a youth leader in my church for years. And every time I speak, someone said, well, I hear an accent. I'm actually from Barbados. All right. And so, one of the things, even in Barbados, I was involved in the youth. I believe the youth are tomorrow, and you have to help them. You have to help them.
Mr. Hetz.
Well, entering my 17th year of practice, I don't think I'm too far behind as far as any attorney experience goes in this race. But what I would say is that as a general practitioner in my own firm, I've handled matters anywhere from traffic tickets all the way up to complex business litigation in the courts here in Central Florida, which also includes federal court. I've handled litigation in federal court over the years as well. So, you know, I've had experience litigating these types of cases throughout the years. I understand the issues that arise in cases, whether it's a traffic ticket, a DUI, $1 million breach of contract case, a copyright infringement case, a trade secret case, a foreclosure case, real estate litigation case. I've handled litigation in all those areas throughout these years. And I think as a foundation for a judge, you know, I'm someone that can hit the pavement running at this point. And I would also like to point out that, you know, the extent of my appellate experience has also given me insight on the other side, in the sense of what do appellate courts look for and why do they reverse judges' decisions and juries' decisions. And those things are very important to understand when you're practicing trial law at the trial court level, because appeals are a big expense for any parties that are involved. So as a judge, if you can, if you understand what is going to be considered possibly an error in an appellate court, and you as a judge can try to prevent things like that from happening, you know, I think all parties involved in the judicial system would benefit from something like that.